Hello, Henry here. Welcome back to SOVL Soul. And this time around we're doing something different because we are, in fact, ranking the troops, the army roster of the Abyssals. So I thought to myself, after having done a few of the challenges now on challenge 7 with 4 or 5 of the armies, I think I know how you can win the game by now, I would say, on the hardest difficulty and the hardest challenge. And I want to give you my opinion on what troops to take, which troops to take, which you shouldn't take or can maybe take, and what the overall ranking is of the troops. And I'm going to do it for all of the ones I've played so far and won the challenge with. And I start with the Abyssals because these are the freshest ones we did. And this is my opinion, of course, and we do it in the way that everyone does it today, and that's with a tier list from Tierlist Maker. So here is the tier list, and I'm gonna give you now my opinion on what you should take or can take and what's working. Overall, I have to say the Abyssals are a very strong, very strong overall army. They the roster is not as big as one of some of the others, but all of their troops are very strong actually, and or quite strong and are worth it. And I don't think actually there's any D tier here because all of the troops are viable and usable and have their thing. And this Abyssal is gonna be a really strong army roster. If this is why I will put them against, I say, against each other. So if I would do overall with all of the other races, then this army would rank very high compared to others. And but I'm just gonna rank it for itself in itself as a roster, and in that way, of course, something is just mid. And for me, S tier is something you take, and this one thing will or can win you the game. If you take it, it's gonna be your linchpin that's gonna carry your troops and your army to the win if you play it correctly. And the A tier is something that is a real upgrade or real strong. You have to play it correctly, but and it can carry you, but it's something that's very strong. B is just the average. That's what you should get, and C would be something that's not as good as something you can regularly get and easily get. And D tier would be something I would never take if it's not really necessary. Don't take D tiers. That's just for main purpose stuff. So with that out of the way, let's go right back into the thing here and start with the two heroes. We've got the Abyssal Champion. He is the one for the melee stuff, and he gets Northman access as his retinue, and the same goes for the sorcerer, who is also with Northman access, and he gets a Shadow Bolt as his main thing, and the melee guy gets demonic possession. If you have a look at the stats, it's a really strong character compared to some others. 5 on the skill, 4 on the power, 4 on the defense, 3 armor, 3 wounds, and 3 attacks, and 9 discipline, all upgradable. And the sorcerer has, for a sorcerer, I would say, still very high value. So 4, 4, and 4 in the first 3 main things, and then 2 attacks, just 3 wounds, and 8 discipline is still nothing to scoff at for a sorcerer. I would say the Abyssal Champion just goes into the middle. The demonic possession is fine, especially if you upgrade the main character with a lot of skill and power. You will get a lot of out of this for the one round you take it, because it takes away a bit of your power but gives you 3 attacks. That's okay, but it's only a one-time use per battle, which I don't like the one-time use per battle things. That I rather take or love the things that hold longer. The guy in itself is really strong, and he's got his Northman Axe, so they are okay troops. The Abyssal Sorcerer for me goes into A tier. I value the sorcery higher than the melee stuff. I know you can make the Abyssal Champion into a beast, especially if you put him onto something like a dragon as a mount or anything else. That's fine, but the way this one goes, if you take it on top of any of the mounts, it's really great. You get a lot of range out of it, and you can really go in and get yeah, the enemy to get into bad positions. And if you have a lot of attacks and a lot of skill and power, this thing is gonna rip through the enemy if you can get it into good positions and if you upgrade him. But still, I'll take the Sorcerer every day of the week because the Shadow Bolt is okay, it's not the best spell, but you have the chance for random, not only random upgrade, but through buying in the shop to get one of the best upgrades, one of the best spells, and that's Hex of Ruin, in my opinion. With Hex of Ruin, you are just evening out the playing field, especially an upgraded Hex of Ruin. It's just gonna be insanely strong. You can really take, for example, Abyssal Hounds into anything, put Hex of Ruin on it, and you can shred the enemy apart in one turn. That's what you do with a Hex of Ruin, or you can get the big guys out of the way quickly with your easy troops. That's why I would put the Abyssal Sorcerer over the Abyssal Champion. I think there's an argument to be made that both are actually, you can put them both into the same line, but I value the magic higher than the main melee guy. So that is the standard stuff gone here, and then both of them get the Northman X. And the Northman X are your not bread and butter, they are your average starting unit for both of them, both retinues, and they are okay. They got 3 skill, 3 power, 3 defense, 1 attack, 1 wound, and 7 discipline. And that's exactly or close to, I think, the Orc Warriors. So on the same vein as the Orc Warriors, somewhere around-ish. One major thing is that you can, in the armory, when you buy an upgrade, you can, without chance, just actually in each run give them a weapon that gives them 2 attacks, which makes them very strong. And 2 attacks always beats the 1. And if you've seen the stats from my run with the Abyssals, you've seen that we always outnumbered the attacks on 2 to 1 on the enemy. We always got 2 in and the enemy only 1, and overwhelming the enemy with attacks, even if it's just weak attacks, is still better, and you will win games like this. The Northman X is therefore for me the B tier. It's the average, it's the thing you are using and you are going with. And you start with it and you can really replenish them quite heavily. You can get really big troops of those. I think 30 is the max. 28, 30 something, and you can really replenish them in. So you get big troops with a lot of attacks and a few upgrades. They are really strong. Then we come to the Abyssal Warriors, and the Abyssal Warriors are basically the upgrade to the Northman Axis. The Abyssal Warriors have for them the Abyssal Armor, which takes a bit of the movement away, but gives them a damage save, +1 damage save, and have hand weapons and shield in the beginning, but you can also give them double attack. That's insane because these guys just rip. They already have double attack in the beginning, and I think you could get them another attack in, and with 3 attacks per person per Abyssal Warrior, you are really strong. And if you have a look at the base stats, you see that it's exactly an upgrade on each one of the main categories to the Northman X, which of course puts them into A tier, but not S tier, because these guys can still die. And especially if you die and have bad rolls, you can't replenish them as quickly as you want to. You only get 1 or 2 out of them, and the troops are limited to 10 in the beginning, and you can go up a bit more, but that's really hard to accomplish and get in. And the next one in the line after the Abyssal Warriors, which are okay. you can get Devil Spawn. Devil Spawn are a bit hit and miss, I would say, as they are just, I don't know, they are strong. They've got 2 attacks, which is already good. I mean, 2 attacks is really, really strong, and that is really nice. But at the same time, they are very, very squishy. So if you have a look at them, they have 4-4-3, so they got less defense than your Abyssal Warriors. They got way more range in the walking distance, of course, and they've got the higher discipline, and they are fearless, so they won't break. But the problem here is that not breaking means you keep them in the fight longer and until they are dead normally, and you've got 10 of those in the beginning. And the real big problem is that you can only replenish 1 or 2 per fight, so they die quickly, can die quickly, and if they die away, you really have no way of getting them back into the game quickly, and you can't even bolster the numbers. So even if you get upgrades and level ups and get experience and get the unit upgrade size, you can do that twice, but it's very hard to get them to full size because the regeneration for them is just not here. And that is unfortunate. If you can get him another wound with a demonic upgrade, so the Abyssals get, when you rank up, they can have the option to get a demonic upgrade, and that's a random upgrade on any one of the stats. And if you get a second wound on them, this would be the game breaker. So if you can get a second wound on them, they get really strong, because then you have double the amount of wounds, of course, so they don't die as quickly, and you stay very, very long in fights, and you're just gonna rip the enemy apart with your 2 attacks, especially in the first round of attacks. So they are a shock troop, because the frenzy makes it in a way that their first round of attack is a reroll round. And no matter if you charge or not, it's just in the first round of a combat you will get that. And that's for every combat you engage in the fight. So not once per battle, but all the time. Which is strong, and you can even, I think, put other weapons on them. If I remember correctly, with the demons, you get the chance to upgrade in the shop to the banners, of course, and I don't remember the weapons right now, actually, to be honest. If you could upgrade, but I think you could. If not, it's fine, but more attacks is always good. So, because of them being between Abyssal Warrior and Northman X, and having the worst rate of recovery, I put them into B tier. You can take them, you can't say do anything wrong with them, but if you lose them, you are in a bad way. Especially if you take them as one of your first troops, and you've got the retinue with the Northman X who can die quickly, the Devil Spawn who can die quickly, and then one other thing. You can lose fights. If you're really unlucky, you can lose them, and getting back Devil Spawn is really hard. You need to pair these Devil Spawn with something else to get them into a backside, or the side of the enemy, or the back of the enemy. Then you are really using them to the best. But that means you need someone to get the enemy out of position, and these are not the ones you can do it with. They are quicker than the Abyssals and the Northman Axes, but they are not quick enough to get some maneuvering done on the side of the enemy, except for when he does stupid stuff and stands in a bad way. That's for the melee stuff. So we are now down with the melee stuff, and we come to the cavalry and shock troops. That's the North Horsemen, the Abyssal Knights, and the Abyssal Chariot, in my opinion. These are the 3 things you get for the normal standard stuff. The North Horsemen are your base unit. They've got the same stats as the North X-Men, except for a double attack from the beginning and a double wound. These are the first thing you can get as the cavalry. And the Northman horse can get an upgrade So you can get a javelin in, which means you can in the shop buy for them the upgrade to get a range attack in, which is nice because as the abyssals you really don't have any of the range attacks except for a bit of spells. You don't have anything, so you're going full melee here. And in that vein, I think the Northman Axes are okay if you can use them quick right, but they have no staying power, and I think I would put them into C tier. I would rather take something else than the Northman Horse. If you, I mean, C tier again, as I said in the beginning, is nothing bad. It's just something you can take and it will help you. And for example, if you start with the Abyssal Champion and then you get something like the Devil Spawn or maybe a Warrior, then I would think about taking a Norse Horseman if you don't get anything else. But in my opinion, if you can in the start, if you can get a North Horseman, probably one of the other two options is a better option than the North Horseman. Yes, they are cavalry and they are swift and they are strong in a way that you can use them to get the enemy out of position, but most of the time you're going to be outnumbered by the enemy. And being outnumbered by the enemy means you are going one-on-one, and these guys just don't cut it one-on-one, in my opinion. And you've got a better thing going. So if you look at the Abyssal Knights, they are the straight upgrade onto the North Horsemen. They are really, really strong. They got not only the better attacks and the better the better discipline and the better stuff, they also got all of the skills, the power, the defense. They've got Abyssal Armor, which gives them even more damage save. They got everything you need from the cavalry. They can go into a fight full frontal into the enemy and hold the line, especially if it's random small troops that can't hit with a lot of power. Then you really should be here. The difference to the North Horseman is that the Northman Horse, you can replenish faster than you can do the Abyssal Knight. In the Abyssal Knight, you only get a 1 replenish per fight, but if you upgrade for replenishment, you can get a bit more out of those. But still, you are done or down with your beginning 5 troops, and the 5 riders are strong. You can get more in, but you only can replenish 1. But that doesn't really hinder them. You won't win a fight with them or a run with them alone. They are too not squishy. They can break. They can lose fights, especially against strong enemies. But they are the cavalry you need. So if you ever get the chance between North Horsemen and the Abyssal Knights, and then you should take the Abyssal Knights. I would even take them over another troop of Devil Spawn on Northman X. If you give me the chance between a Devil Spawn and an Abyssal Knight, I'd rather take the Abyssal Knights, even if they are half the troops of the Devil Spawn, but you get a quicker unit out of this. And the upgrades on those, if you get some in, they are in good and they get really strong. And then we come to a special unit, which is the Abyssal Chariot. The Abyssal Chariot is a rather peculiar thing, in my opinion, because the other chariots I've played so far were nothing strong, I would say. So they were okay, but they weren't game changers. You had to use them as shock troops in the side. For example, with the orcs, if you take them, you get 2 of them, and the 2 of them together you can do funny things with, and that's nice. But the Abyssal Chariot has the insane thing that it's got 4 skill, 4 power, 5 defense, 3 attacks, and 5 wounds, which is normal. 3 attacks, 5 wounds, I think, is normal for a chariot. But the 5 defense really give you an upgrade. Then there is the Abyssal Armor on top of it with the damage save, and the crushing charge is, of course, everything each chariot has. And the Abyssal Chariot is really strong. If you upgrade it even further, So if you get a bit more defense in, a bit more power, these guys can really stay. If you've seen my last run with the chariot and the abyssal hounds and all of the monsters, then you've seen how long they can stay in a fight, even after a charge. And after losing their crushing charge bonus, they can still stay, because even the biggest enemies sometimes only hit on 3 or 4 pluses, and the weak enemies only hit on 2 plus. So your 5 wounds, you get really a lot out of them, which is why I would put them into A tier. They are stronger than some of these guys, and they are really quick. You can position them quite easily, and I would say this Abyssal Chariot is really strong. I would take it, and if you really play good with it, it's strong and will carry you a game. And that's it for the cavalry. And if you get a chance, don't take the Northman horse, just take an Abyssal Chariot instead, or take an Abyssal Knight. And I would rather take a chariot over the Northman horse. That's my opinion, of course. You can have a different one. That's just my thinking here. And yeah, let's get to the monsters, the special units of the Abyssals. And here we get 3 things. We get the Abyssal Hounds, which are the upgraded version, I would say, or the beefed up version of the, was it, undead hounds, wherever they come from, the ones with the 1 wound and 2 attacks but lower stats. These guys can be incredible, especially if you get them in the beginning of the game. You get 2 of them. So if you use them as a starting unit, like in my last run, you get 2 of them, and the 2 of them can be used in tandem to get enemies to position for one and get side attacked by the other. The problem with them is they've only got 1 wound. If you don't get an upgrade or a random upgrade on their wound, they are very squishy. They get hit quite easily, they get killed quite easily, and if you're going up against any kind of better troop, you are dying. So if you're, for example, going into some kind of elf lance or some kind of riders and cavalry or something like Abyssal Knights, you are not guaranteed to do much damage on them, and they are killing with each wound you take. You lose one of the hounds and one of the attacks. You can replenish them, I would say, quickly enough. You start with 8 of them in the beginning, and you can get the double troops in. So, not double troops, but you can get the upgrade, and you start with 5 hounds, sorry, and you can upgrade it to, I think, 3 per upgrade. So you go from 8 to 11 and to 14. I think in my campaign I could have had 14, and with a replenishment you can really replenish them quickly. But in the fight itself, you can lose them rather quickly. They are insanely quick, and they can be used to attack the enemy in the side and get them into bad positions, and they are the perfect, I would say, support unit. So if you are engaged with anyone and these guys come from the back or the side, they will give you the upper hand and they will win you the engagement in that point. But on a one-on-one, they will lose, especially against stronger units in the frontal attack. They will lose. They can stay, especially with upgrades, but you will lose them quickly and you will lose the fight on the flank. So unlike something like the chariot or the knight, these guys are just here for smashing, and they will not hold the line or cannot hold the line over a few rounds. That's why I would have put them in C tier, but the upper part of C tier, especially if you get them in the beginning, B tier, sorry, the upper part of the, especially if you get them in the beginning of the game, you get 2 of them, and the 2 of them really carry you quite far. And if you've seen my last run, you can see what 2 of these, together with 1 Abyssal Knight and 1 champion sorcerer with a Northman axe, can do. It is. Yeah, you can really do some nice stuff and get enemies out of position because of their quickness. But I'd take an Abyssal Knight over the Hound, and in the beginning I still would take probably the Knight over the Hound. but it's debatable if you take the Abyssal Chariot or 2 Abyssal Hounds. I think if you're talking mainly starting position, or mainly starting, I probably would take the Hounds over the Chariot, so they are close to equal. So there is not much between them, in my opinion, especially in the beginning. But if you only get one troop and you compare them 1-to-1, then the Chariot wins, because it has staying power and can stay after the first charge round and can be alone, and the Hounds alone, especially in the beginning with low numbers, will not be the ones that carry you. So until now we've got a good amount of troops on B on A, but we haven't done any D or S tier, and we won't get any D tier, as I said in the beginning, because I think none of these troops are really bad. But we come to the first one and the only one for the Abyssals that are S tier, in my opinion. These guys, the Dragon Spawn, they are beasts. And if you've seen my full melee challenge, only going with melee style, these guys are insane. They got everything you need. They've got the power, they've got the wounds, and you get 3 of them in the beginning. And 3 with 4 wounds is insane. They are very strong. They are the ones you need as your anvil, for example. But they are not only the anvil, they are as well the hammer. So they can be really, really strong and can go in there and attack the enemy with reckless abandon, and they stay. They've got a scaly skin with another defense, so that goes up as well. And they've got halberdiers as a beginning, which means the enemy has to roll at a minimum of 4+. You can change that to other weapons without problem, but these guys with the axe are just really, really strong. And they will, of course, carry you with the halberdiers. And I think these are the one troop you need. If you see them in the start formation and you can get them, get them. If you can get any kind of saving specials on them, you are golden. They had in my run the chance for divine favor. I got them into the altar and they got the divine favor, and they could reroll all of their damage saves, and with a bit of upgrading, so they got 5 out of the gate with the skin, they get 5 defense, and if you get one more on top of that, 6 defense, you are very good. And if you then have a reroll, these guys are not going down. Never. And in fact, I think through the whole run of the melee challenge, the last one, I never lost one of the dragons, not once. So they stayed. Of course, you can't only replenish one of them, but you can also upgrade the unit numbers, and I think it goes up to 5. But these guys, they have a lot of staying power, even without rerolls on the damage saves. But if you get them with damage save, oh, they are good. And the cherry on top, in the shop, you can get them a flamer attack. So not only are they strong in their charge and in their staying power and in their attacks, they also can get a flamer attack on the approach. So they are an Inferno Cannon on steroids. They're not quite as strong as the Inferno Cannon or the Flamers of the Rats, but it is enough to give you a good, nice grilling of the enemy coming in, and then you just bash him down. I didn't use it in my run, but for me, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. If I had the chance, and if I could have taken it, I would have taken the Flamer, and these guys would have been insane. And then we have the Archdevil, the last troop of the Abyssals. And I'm a bit mixed on this one. This thing is insane, let's say it that way. It got 5 attack, 5 skill, 5 power, 5 on the defense, 6 attacks, 6 wounds, and 10 discipline. This thing alone can engage bigger troops and stay and win. This thing has so much power that it is just punching through anything. It's got fearlessness, so you won't get it off the field if it's in a fight, it's in a fight. It's got frenzy, so in the first round of fighting or in combat, you get a reroll, so you probably hit all of your 6 attacks, or 5 of 6 attacks is something you can count on in the first round of fighting with him. He's flying, so he can ignore and flies a very, very great distance. And it's a small troop. It's a small little square. So you can fly anywhere and position in the smallest of nooks to get side attacks in. And this thing shreds enemies. But, and here comes my but, and the reason why I think it is not quite as S tier as the Dragon Spawn, I see the argument for putting it in S tier. It is strong, it is fearless, and it can on its own stay and fight one-on-one with another troop, but getting 2 troops in on this one and you are getting in trouble. If you get some kind of rerolls on this thing, fine. The Putrid Stench, by the way, is a standard upgrade you can get for 100 gold. So not only has the enemy a hard time to hit you, you can also reduce the number because they have to reroll their successful attacks. And the Putrid Stench is, in my opinion, one of the strongest abilities. And so you can get the enemy to roll even again and get less attacks in. That is fine and all good, and I think he's strong, but I don't think he can carry you single-handedly because the 6 attacks just don't cut it, and just don't cut it. That sounds bad, but 6 attacks are not enough, especially if you can't re-roll in the second turn. You can have rounds where you only hit twice or 3 times maybe, and 3 hits on a lot of power. Let's say from 3 hits in the average 2 go through, so you make 2 wounds on the enemy. That's all fine and good, but if you're going up one-on-one against a stronger troop, especially with more like Abyssal Knights, Lancers, anything that has more troops and a lot of attacks, you probably won't stay as long, and you can't really, especially if you get attacked from the side and with more troops from the side, you can really break this thing. So he gets hit, and I don't think he alone can do all of the above. I mean, yeah, sure, I hear ya. The Dragon Spawns also don't have the ability to be surrounded and win, of course, but if you get reroll in them, they are just insane. And if you could get a defensive reroll on the Devil, he's also insane, of course, I hear ya. But I don't think he will carry you alone on the end of the way of the battle and the challenge. And I think he goes into the top of A tier, just close to the S tier. This is not a knock on the Archdevil. I would take gladly an Archdevil over anything of these other troops. If I don't get a Dragon Spawn, I take the Archdevil over all of these. The reason I put them behind the Spawn is just because the Spawn you can upgrade in number, so you get more attacks, more wounds. Look at this, you get 3 in the beginning, that's 12 wounds already, that's double the wounds on the Archdevil, and you get 3 attacks. With 3 dragons, that's 9 attacks instead of 6 attacks. And then you can upgrade to 5 of those guys, and then you can upgrade the attack numbers, and each of the attack numbers gets more. So if you give me the option between take a Dragon Spawn or take an Archdevil, I will take the Dragon Spawn. Even though the Archdevil is a flyer and can get around the battlefield quickly, he is strong. No matter what, he is really strong, especially if some random upgrades. But and the Putrid Stench really helps. But I think the Dragon Spawn is the one that carries you through the game. I see an argument to put him here into S tier. It's fine. I wouldn't be mad with this. But I say the Dragon Spawns are the ones that can really carry you through a game, and the Archdevil is a really nice addition. And if you can get either one of those in your troops, it's fine. And he's on top of A tier, just barely scratching onto S tier. But it's overall a very, very strong unit roster. So if I would put this against any others, these 2 would be very, very high up in the ranking against other troops. So this is what I think about the Abyssals. They are a very well-rounded, in my opinion, a very, very well-rounded troop contingent army roster. They are average to very good, and you can't really go wrong with any of it. You, yeah, whatever you take in the beginning, you are good to go, and I think you can win with a good play style and a good combination, especially if you get some of the better troops. And yeah, that is my opinion on how the Abyssals stack up and how I think these guys are compared to each other. That is it for this time around with the Abyssals. I'm gonna give you my opinion on the rankings in other videos for the Dwarves, the Rats, and the Orcs, because these we've done already. And then we continue our challenge run mode with the Undead. So, thanks for watching. I hope you liked something different this time, and I will see you with another one of the Souls videos. Bye bye.